We all have a voice in our heads. It narrates, critiques, encourages, and sometimes it tears us apart. Most of the time, we don't even notice it. It's background noise. But that voice, it's powerful. It shapes how we see ourselves. And more importantly, it shapes how we show up in the world. Imagine this. You're about to walk into a room full of people. Maybe it's a job interview, maybe it's a date, maybe it's something as simple as reconnecting with an old friend, and before you even open the door, your mind starts whispering, don't screw this up, you always say the wrong thing, they probably don't even want to see you. That voice, that's the one directing your next steps, and whether we like it or not, we obey it far more often than we realize. Now imagine a different voice. Same situation, but this time as you reach for the door handle, you hear, you've got something valuable to share. They'll be lucky to hear your story. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be real. That voice changes everything. Not because the world outside the door has changed, but because you have. And when you change, your world follows. The way we talk to ourselves determines the energy we bring into every room, every conversation, every opportunity. If we speak to ourselves with hesitation, we walk with hesitation. If we speak to ourselves with belief, we walk with conviction. It's not magic, it's alignment. And for 3 days, I want to challenge you to create that alignment. Just 3 days of paying attention to how you speak to yourself and changing the script. Because here's what most people don't realize. We are far more careful with how we speak to others than how we speak to ourselves. If your best friend made a mistake, you wouldn't call them an idiot. If someone you love was struggling, you wouldn't tell them they're a failure. And yet when it's us, we're brutal. We don't just criticize, we condemn. And over time, those little jabs, that constant self-judgment, it shapes who we believe we are. It eats away at our confidence, our joy, and even our courage to try again. But it doesn't have to be that way. Talking to yourself with intention is not about repeating cheesy affirmations or pretending everything is fine when it's not. It's about creating a space inside yourself where you can be honest and kind at the same time, where you can be accountable without being cruel, where you can push yourself without tearing yourself down. Think about leaders you admire, not just those who achieve great things, but those who inspire people to believe in something bigger than themselves. You know what they all have in common? They speak with clarity. They lead with empathy. They see the good even when the results aren't perfect. That doesn't start with how they talk to others. That starts with how they talk to themselves. Because the language we use internally becomes the culture we build externally. If you constantly tell yourself, I'm not good enough, you'll act in ways that try to prove you are. You'll seek validation. You'll chase approval. You'll measure your worth by what other people say or do. But if you tell yourself, I'm learning, or I'm growing, or I'm not where I want to be, but I'm on my way, then you start to lead from a different place, a place of security, not scarcity. You'll start to show up more present, more grounded, more you. And the people around you will feel it. Because confidence isn't about walking into a room thinking you're better than everyone. It's walking in, not needing to compare at all. That kind of confidence is built from the inside out. It's built through consistent, kind, courageous self-talk. Now, I know for many of us, this kind of shift feels strange, maybe even uncomfortable. We're not used to talking to ourselves like someone we respect. We've spent years, maybe decades, practicing the opposite. But here's the thing, it only takes 3 days to notice the difference. 3 days of speaking to yourself with curiosity instead of criticism, with belief instead of blame. And I promise you, by the end of those 3 days, something will feel different. Maybe you'll carry yourself differently. Maybe you'll find a little more ease in the mirror. Maybe the way you speak to others will shift too, because the empathy you give yourself naturally flows outward. This isn't about becoming someone else. It's about becoming who you were before the world taught you to doubt it. So tomorrow morning when you wake up, pay attention. Listen to that voice. And when it starts to go down the usual path, when it starts to say, you can't, or you're not enough, interrupt it. Gently, firmly, replace it with a better question. What do I need today to move forward? What would I say to a friend who felt like this? What if I believe, just for today, that I'm on the right path? You don't need to change your life in 3 days. You just need to change the conversation. Because the truth is, we are listening to ourselves all the time, and what we say becomes who we are. So talk to yourself like someone who matters, because you do. And when you believe that, even just a little, everything starts to change. We're all guilty of it. We make a mistake, and immediately we jump to judgment. We forget something, miss a deadline, say the wrong thing, and the voice in our head goes straight to, you always mess this up, you're so careless, why can't you get it right? And what's fascinating is how automatic it is. We don't stop to think. We don't pause to ask why. We just react, we judge. But imagine for a second what would happen if we didn't. Imagine if, instead of judgment, we met ourselves with curiosity. There's a big difference between the two. Judgment says you failed. Curiosity asks, what happened? One closes the door, the other opens it. And in those small, quiet moments, the ones where we're disappointed in ourselves or unsure of what comes next, the choice between judgment and curiosity can completely reshape the path we take next. It's easy to judge. It feels fast. It gives us a false sense of control, like we're keeping ourselves in check. But here's the truth. Judgment doesn't help us grow. It keeps us stuck. Because when you judge yourself, you're not actually trying to understand. You're trying to punish. You're building a case against yourself rather than building yourself up. And we do it because we think it's the only way to improve. We've been taught, often subtly, that the only way to be better is to be harder on ourselves. We wear our self-criticism like armor, thinking it makes us strong. But real strength, real growth, that doesn't come from shame. It comes from awareness. And awareness only happens when we're curious enough to look at ourselves without tearing ourselves down. Think about a time you messed something up. Really think about it. Now imagine you had a coach or a mentor by your side in that moment, someone who believed in you, someone who wanted the best for you. Do you think they would have screamed, "You're an idiot"? Or do you think they would have asked, "Okay, what went wrong and what can we learn from this?" We're not missing tough love. We're missing wise love. Love that tells the truth, but does it without breaking us. Love that holds us accountable, but still sees our worth. That's the voice we need to become for ourselves. Curiosity isn't soft. It's not passive. It's one of the most courageous things we can practice, because curiosity means we're willing to face ourselves honestly. It means we're willing to sit in the discomfort without rushing to fix it, to ask better questions, to dig deeper. When we're curious, we're not looking for blame. We're looking for understanding. And that understanding, it becomes the foundation for growth that lasts. Let's say you procrastinated on a project. You missed your mark. You feel like you let someone down. The judgmental voice will say, "You're lazy. You always do this." But a curious voice, it asks, "Why did I avoid this? What was I feeling? Was I overwhelmed? Afraid of not getting it perfect?" That shift changes everything. Because now, instead of fighting yourself, you're partnering with yourself. You're getting to the why. And when you understand the why, you can begin to change the what. Curiosity builds momentum. Judgment builds walls. And over time, the walls get higher and thicker until we can't even see the person we're trying to become. What's incredible is that we already know how to be curious. We do it with the people we care about. When someone we love is struggling, we don't jump to conclusions. We lean in. We ask questions. We give them the benefit of the doubt. We look for context. We try to see the whole picture. But with ourselves, we forget we deserve the same. If anything, we need it more. And when we begin to treat ourselves with that level of curiosity, something starts to happen. We begin to notice patterns, not just problems. We begin to see our behaviors, not as flaws, but as signals, clues to something deeper. We begin to see that what we often call self-sabotage is just our way of coping, of protecting ourselves, of surviving the best we could with what we knew. And when we realize that, we can stop beating ourselves up and start building ourselves up. This shift from judgment to curiosity doesn't just change how we talk to ourselves, it changes how we lead, how we parent, how we partner, how we show up in our work. Because when we practice curiosity within, we naturally offer it to others. We become better listeners. We become more empathetic. We stop assuming the worst and start seeing people more fully. That's the power of changing the conversation inside. And it doesn't take a lifetime. It doesn't take years of therapy or hours of journaling every day. It just takes 3 days. 3 days of catching yourself in those small moments. 3 days of interrupting the judgment and replacing it with curiosity. 3 days of asking better questions. What am I feeling? What triggered this response? What do I need right now? What's the truth underneath the story I'm telling myself? It won't feel natural at first. That voice of judgment is well practiced. It's been rehearsing its lines for years. But with intention, you can introduce a new character. A quieter voice, maybe, but a wiser one. One that's not here to tear you down, but to help you grow. One that doesn't just want you to succeed, but wants you to become whole. So the next time you feel that pull, the shame, the frustration, the self-criticism, pause. Take a breath. And ask a question instead of making a statement. Because every time you choose curiosity over judgment, you're not just being kind to yourself, you're building trust with yourself. And when you trust yourself, you lead with a different kind of strength, a grounded strength, the kind that lasts. This is what it means to talk to yourself differently. Not with perfection, not with performance, but with purpose. And it starts not by fixing everything at once, but by simply being willing to ask, what's really going on here? That's the kind of voice worth listening to. Mornings are powerful, not because of some miracle routine or productivity hack, but because they set the tone, they shape the lens through which we see the rest of the day. Most people wake up and immediately reach for their phones. They check emails, social media, the news, and before their feet even touch the ground, they're already reacting to the world. The day starts with noise, with comparison, with anxiety. But there's a different way to begin, and it starts with just one question. Why am I doing this? That's it. Just that. Why? Every single day we are faced with decisions, distractions, demands. We're pulled in 1,000 directions. And if we're not grounded in something deeper, something that matters, we begin to drift. We say yes when we mean no. We pursue goals that don't fulfill us. We chase approval instead of meaning. But when we begin the day with purpose, with clarity, something changes. The world doesn't get quieter. We just become more anchored. It's not about writing down a perfect mission statement. It's not about having all the answers. It's about reminding yourself of what matters to you. It's about waking up and choosing consciously to live by design instead of by default. Because when you lose sight of your why, everything becomes harder. Every task becomes heavier. Every challenge feels personal. But when you know your why, even if it's messy, even if it's still evolving, you move differently. You carry yourself with intention. You start to see obstacles not as threats, but as part of the path. And the best part, it doesn't take hours. It takes 30 seconds. It's a sentence you speak to yourself when you wake up. A reminder of what you're building, who you're becoming, and what you believe in. That's it. Because we don't need more pressure in the morning. We need more alignment. People often say, I don't know my why. And that's okay. The truth is, your why doesn't always come to you in a flash of insight. It's revealed in small choices, in what you say yes to, in what lights you up, in what breaks your heart. And the only way to hear it clearly is to stop drowning it out with noise, to give it space. So if you don't know your why, don't panic. Start by noticing what energizes you, what drains you. What moments feel meaningful even when they're hard? What do you find yourself fighting for even when no one's watching? Your why lives in those moments. And when you begin to speak it to yourself each morning, not perfectly, not poetically, just truthfully, you start to shift. I'm showing up today because I want to lead with integrity. I'm choosing this path because I believe in building something bigger than myself. I'm doing the hard thing because I know it shapes who I'm becoming. Those small sentences rewire the way we show up. Without that kind of reminder, we default to reaction. We get caught in the loop, chasing goals we didn't choose, comparing ourselves to people we don't know, measuring our worth by outcomes we can't control. But with that reminder, we return to ourselves. We remember that we are not machines. We are not here just to check boxes and grind through. We're here to grow, to lead, to serve, to create something meaningful, and that doesn't happen by accident. It isn't about motivation. It's not about waking up fired up every morning. That's unrealistic. No one feels inspired every day. But what we can do every day is remind ourselves of what we stand for. And when we do that, even on the hard days, we move with more grace. We act with more intention. We forgive ourselves faster. We lead better. When you forget your why, every inconvenience becomes unbearable. Every bit of resistance feels personal, but when you remember it, resistance becomes part of the work. It stops being a signal to quit and starts being a signal that you're doing something that matters. People often think purpose is about big, dramatic visions, and sometimes it is, but more often it's simple. It's about showing up for your family. It's about doing your work with integrity. It's about becoming the kind of person your younger self would be proud of. It's about building something that outlasts you, and the more you remind yourself of that, the more your decisions begin to reflect it. When you start your day with your why, it's like planting a flag. It doesn't stop the storms from coming, but it gives you something to hold on to, something to come back to, something to guide your choices when things get messy, because they will. It's also contagious. When you lead from your why, people feel it. They may not know what it is, but they'll say things like, there's just something about the way you work. You're different. That difference is clarity, it's alignment. And in a world where so many people are drifting, clarity stands out. We don't need more people who are busy, we need more people who are anchored. We don't need more goals, we need more purpose behind the goals. And that begins not at the end of some life-changing journey, but in the quiet moments, the morning check-in, the whispered reminder, the decision to speak your why before the world speaks over it. So try it, just for 3 days. Wake up and say your why. It might feel awkward at first, you might not be sure what to say. That's okay, speak it anyway, let it evolve, let it be messy, but say it out loud if you can. And then watch. Watch how you carry yourself through the day. Watch how you navigate the hard conversations. Watch how you handle the setbacks, because the words we speak at the start of the day become the compass we follow when things get unclear. Your why doesn't have to be big to be powerful, it just has to be true. And once you start reminding yourself of it daily, you'll realize it was never about doing more, it was about remembering who you are and why it matters. And once you're anchored in that, everything else starts to shift. Most of us don't notice it. It's subtle, quiet. It hides behind language that seems normal, phrases we say so often they feel like truth. I'm not good with people. I'm terrible at this. I never finish what I start. We repeat these lines in casual conversation, in passing, even in laughter. But make no mistake, our words are shaping our identity. How we speak to ourselves, even in jest, matters, because language is more than communication. It's creation. What we say over and over becomes what we believe, and what we believe becomes how we act. It's a loop, and it can either lift us or limit us. Most of us are carrying around a story we didn't even choose. A script written by fear, by failure, by a few bad moments that we decided meant something about who we are. And the longer we say it, the more true it feels. But feeling true isn't the same as being true. If you tell yourself you're not creative, you'll stop trying to create. Not because it's true, but because you won't give yourself the chance to disprove it. If you say you're not a leader, you'll never step into opportunities to lead. Not because you can't, but because you won't even see them. The way we speak about ourselves sets the ceiling on what we believe we're capable of. And that ceiling is almost always too low. Think about it. If someone followed you around and said out loud everything you say to yourself, every criticism, every insult, every doubt, you'd call them toxic. You'd say they were emotionally abusive. You'd say, I don't deserve to be spoken to like that, and you'd be right. So why is it okay when it's coming from you? The truth is, it's not. But we've gotten so used to it that we barely hear it anymore. It's just background noise. And the worst part is, it doesn't sound like a bully, it sounds like us. So we believe it. And every time we repeat the story, it sinks in a little deeper. But here's the good news. Just because it's a story you've told for years doesn't mean you have to keep telling it. You can rewrite it. You can speak new words. You can tell a better truth. This doesn't mean lying to yourself. It doesn't mean pretending everything's perfect. It means choosing words that are honest and empowering. It means shifting from "I always screw this up" to "I've struggled with this before, but I'm learning." It means catching yourself in the moment and asking, is this the story I want to live by? You'd be amazed at what happens when you start speaking to yourself like someone who has potential, not problems. Like someone who's growing, not stuck. It doesn't make you arrogant, it makes you accurate. Because the most accurate version of your story includes your strength and your struggle. It includes the times you failed and got back up, the times you doubted and still showed up. That's the version worth telling. The words you speak, even the ones in silence, are shaping the way you show up in the world. If you want to change your life, change your language. Because once you start speaking to yourself differently, your actions follow. Your posture changes. Your energy shifts. You take more ownership. You stop playing small. You stop waiting for permission to become who you already are. But this takes intention. It takes discipline. Because the old words are comfortable, familiar. They slip out without effort. And changing them, even slightly, feels awkward at first. That's normal. You're interrupting a well-rehearsed script. And anytime you challenge something old, it resists. That's not failure. That's progress. Start with one phrase, one sentence you've been telling yourself for years that you know isn't serving you. Write it down, then rewrite it. Replace it with something rooted in truth, possibility, and growth. Not fluff, not fantasy, but language that gives you room to rise. Instead of, "I'm terrible at this," say, "This is new for me and I'm figuring it out." Instead of, "I'll never get it right," say, "Every time I try, I get a little closer." Instead of, "I don't belong here," say, "I bring something valuable even if I don't see it yet. It may feel small, but it's not."